Yes, sir. The transition points with Tate and Dice. I'm your main man, Dice. That's my man Tate right there. Yes, sir. Hey, and it's another beautiful day. Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. My boy feeling good. He over there voguing. Now, why are you over there dancing, man? You happy to be back in Georgia? Why are you over there in the festive mood, bro?
Well, I'm not showing the fro that you got, but besides that, you cut the beard, bro. You broke code on me, dog. You know what I'm
I
saying?
did.
You ain't do me right, but it's all good. I'm still trying to go long and strong. I got a little hang time. Don't
You
trip.
do.
I got a little bit, but it's all good. Yeah, happy to be back home. I was in Florida for about a month. Had a good time. Didn't get a chance to put no color to the pale body, like I really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
nonetheless, it was a lot of rain, but it was cool, bro. Let me tell you, I got caught up on the way back home, all the way up through Florida, bro. As soon as I got to the border, crossing over into Georgia, it really started dialing back a bit. But bro, I was like in the belly of the beast, bro. Like I was in the eye of the storm. The tropical storm was coming through. Windshield wipers going as fast as they could, bro. I thought they was about to fly off. You know what I'm saying? And still couldn't see in front of you. You know it's real when everybody on the road putting their hazard lights on, bro, and going probably like 40 miles an hour or under. And of course, it always got to be that one asshole that's coming through in a big body truck trying to move all the. You know how they do, bro. Trying to make everybody jealous that they ain't got the big heavy duty boy.
Right. That's crazy. That sounds crazy, man. Now, I'm sure the traffic was crazy today because I know it's a big day in Georgia, man. Did you get a chance to go out and see like the vibes of what's going on? I know on my social media, everybody's talking about, oh, I voted, I voted. How's the vibes in Georgia in terms of like the voting going on, man?
You want an honest answer, right? Because you know we don't do it no other way on this show,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. There you go.
I don't know. I ain't going out there. Iron Mike, listen to me. You try to think it's a joke. I'm not lying, bro. Not only do I not know, but I'm not trying to know. I ain't trying to figure out. I know that might sound bad. A lot of people died for me to have my right to be able to do A, B, and C, and I get all that. Me and you talk about this all the time, and I know a lot of people died for me to also be able to have the right to not do it if I don't feel comfortable. With all that said, I've just heard a lot in terms of, you know, the lines being wrapped around the corner and down the street, around the block and so forth, between that and how people are kind of feeling like this is somewhat like set up or something because like it's not allowing you to like vote properly or something along those lines. I don't know if you've been hearing the same thing, but
I have.
yeah, it's just something not right going on with it where the systems is like got some kind of glitch in it. But leading up to this point, me and you talk all the time. You know, my outlook, my overview on it, none of that surprises me. I think that that's something intentional, but that's for the, what do you call the people that kind of believe certain things, whatever. I can't think of the name of it. But conspiracy theorists or whatever. But honestly, I don't know, bro. People in the world gonna make the decision makers is gonna make the decisions, but I definitely do not only about encouraging, but I do take my hat off without physically taking my hat off because I ain't had a haircut to the people who are going out there and trying to make a change and not just sitting on their butts like a couch potato Garfield style eating lasagna sandwiches like your boy over here.
Oh boy. Well, as always, DT, I appreciate you for always keeping it real and being candid, man. And like you said, like you always said, you have the right. Our ancestors died for the right for us to vote or not to vote. And I get it, man. And just for like the reasons you named about the whole hustle, bustle, and combustion, man, you know, I know for future reference, man, you can always look into like doing like an absentee vote so you can skip in, you know, all those crazy lines and so forth. So that's all good. So it's not voting time up here in New Jersey, man. So this weekend it was really dry for me, bro. Like my highlights was, I guess, watching Insecure. That's for my female viewers out there. You know, that's a show that comes on HBO. Shout out to Issa Rae, you know, man. But I also, bro, I know this isn't like basketball, but it's kind of sports related. I got a chance to check out the Bruce Lee movie, man. That came on ESPN on Sunday. Did you hear about that? You checked that out yet?
Didn't check it out, but I have. I knew that it was on, and a couple people tweeted about it, whatnot. I'm not really like a big. It could probably benefit some, you know what I'm saying, with me getting my knowledge up, but no, I didn't peep it.
No, it was good, man. I just got a major respect, man, for Bruce Lee, bro. His whole hustle, his rise from where he came from, and just like in the middle of what's going on in society today, like the racial injustices and everything like that, man. It was very enlightening and insightful that Asian Americans, they're minorities too, and they had some issues and things that they had to confront and their assimilation and their journey from from China, Japan, Vietnam, whatever, coming over here, man. So this is a very interesting perspective to see, Bruce Lee's background. I never knew, his background for the most part. I just know the iconic movies and so forth. Now I didn't know he was so young when he died, D-Tate.
How old was he?
He was 32 years old, bro.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, an icon, man. So
how long ago was that anyways?
So I want to say like 1973. Yeah. Yeah, before
I didn't know it was that long ago, to be honest with you. I thought maybe like somewhere in the 80s or maybe like early 90s, mid 90s, but I didn't know it was that long ago. I mean, I'm not really as hip to it as you are, and I probably do need to educate myself a little bit more in regards to some of those things. I did want to ask you two things before we jump into a ton of basketball, which is ultimately what we're here for, but I think it is beneficial for people to not only get our views and opinions on certain things that's going on in the world and so forth. But we was just talking about voting, and shout out to a regular viewer that we both know, Rob Hamilton, who always love, come on, my guys, and said that he voted today. And I'm gonna be honest, let me tell this real short story before we dive into it, because we got a little bit of time. Like, Rob is one of those guys that obviously he is one of our former colleagues for me, and I think it's safe for me to speak for you and say a lifetime friend. But Rob is one of those guys who I've had some opportunities at invites to come over and watch games with him and do dinner with him and his family and all these other things, and really great guy, and I think he's very genuine with the things that he says. And I don't know how many brothers Rob Hamilton grew up around or with, but you would never know it if he did it. And I appreciate and respect his stance, because he never treated me specifically different than whites or other people. And while I'm not trying to single him out, I also am trying to single him out because he gave me an opportunity, my first opportunity to do some writing and whatnot on college basketball. You know what I mean? At the particular station that we were working at, when I don't know if that's because I was good at what I do or if that was because nobody else cared about it and it's college basketball, it doesn't matter. But nonetheless, he knew I had a passion for it. He saw that in me. Dude is giving me Christmas gifts and different things, bro. So there is good things that come from, people who, you pick their brains and that invest in you that don't look like you every single day. So outside of that, what I want to ask you in regards to the voting part is that do you think that the people who don't vote, like myself, do you think that those people shouldn't complain if the results in presidency or whatever elections in general don't go in their favor?
Well, first of all, shout out to Rob Hamilton, and I did have a great thing to say to him, but I didn't get no Christmas gifts. I didn't get no invite to dinner and everything like that. So I don't know how I feel about
Rob Hamilton no
more now.
You shaved the beard. You should have never shaved the beard.
Yeah. And I guess, man, what's the old adage though, D-Tate? You get what you put in. So if you didn't put anything in, exercise your voting power, you really can't complain when things happen in society the way you don't want them to happen. You know what I'm saying? And that just takes a lot of research and just time to go out and see who your local government is on the smaller scale, on the smaller level, whether it's like a district attorney, a lawyer, a councilman, alderman, mayors, things like that, man, because if anything that's transgressed in these last 20, 30 days, it's the importance of, government on the local level and how important it is, man, to get the people, who make these decisions, who control, who's going to control or hire the next police chief or your local, district attorney and so forth. And these are the people, your local judge. These people on everyday basis are making these changes. They are making these differences, man. So if you get arrested, man, whether it's the policeman, what I'm saying, that takes you, to get arrested, and then you could have a trial date, you have a court date. Everybody there that's affecting your destiny and your fate, man. They have the option to be voted for. So if you see like a pattern, consistent pattern of like a judge or a police chief, and they're making like racial moves, and they're kind of like, what I'm saying, not being fair, and they're not being, I don't know, just perpetuating, man, what I'm saying, justice, bro, the way we want to see it, man. You can always make that difference on the smaller level, bro. So I know I'm just like giving like a long-winded answer, man, but if anything, these last 20 to 30 days, it's showing me the importance of going out and not voting on like a presidential level, because everybody feels like I can only make a change on the top. But no, this whole, these events that happened the last 2 or 3 weeks let me know the importance of voting on a smaller level. So in 2 or 3 years from now, if Pookie and Ray Ray keep on getting locked up, if racist cops are on the loose, you have the power to get these people out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I hope these last 2 or 3 weeks have like really awakened a lot of people who were negative, who did think, my vote doesn't count. Like hopefully you can see right now on the everyday basis, everyday level, that your voting does count, man. So I know that was a long-winded answer. I hope it wasn't
good. You did a great job as always in true Dyson, last name Dyson fashion. My dude Twitty chimed in, man, said 3 hours, DT. I would imagine that he's referencing to how long it took him standing in line, or heard of in his area standing in line to vote today. So shout out to my dude Twitty.
Yeah, because you know what, because it's Twitty. A lot of these people, we can go out and wait 3 hours for the newest Jordans or the newest Yeezys. Why can't we wait 3 hours to make it change, though? You know what I'm saying? We can go 3 hours and wait for concert tickets for Janae Aiko or SZA, all these people, man. Why can't we wait 3 hours to make a difference in our own community, man? So shout out to him, man. But anyway, though, that was today. Bruce Lee died in 1973. But what happened today, though, in the NBA, though, D-Tate, the league office, they had like a conference call for all the media, and some information leaked out that said, you know what, because of the whole, I would say academic, because of the whole pandemic, bro, it's going to affect next season, bro, the 2020-2021 season. And right now they're talking about the next season, in addition to starting like December 1st, we're going to go back to back-to-back games and 4 games in 5 days. So it's going to be a condensed schedule, man. How do you think that's going to be received by the players? Shout out to Lori too.
Yeah, she definitely gave you some showed you some love, bro. Yeah, Lori is a consistent listener and watcher, viewer as well. But in regards to how this would be done, I mean, let me make sure I know exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. What let me find this out from you first. Okay. What exactly are you asking?
So how do you think the players are going to respond to a condensed season for next year? So they come back like December 1st. They're proposing that the NBA goes back, they revert back to back-to-back games and 4 games out of 5 nights. Now, recently, man, Adam Silver in the NBA, they negotiated where players have, no more back-to-backs, or like a limited amount of back-to-backs per season. Like back in the day, it used to be like 25, 30 games, or like sets of back-to-backs. I think recently it's been cut back down to like 15 back-to-backs a season, and there are no more 4 games and 5 nights anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's all for load management. Remember a couple of years ago when Coach Popovich of the Spurs started the new trend of sitting players, and they were sitting players for like national televised games, and that started affecting the money because like fans were complaining like, wow, it's a NBC or ESPN Saturday night, LA versus San Antonio, and LeBron and Kawhi isn't playing, or Steph Curry isn't playing. So they try to alleviate that problem by cutting back some of the back-to-backs in the 4 games out of 5 nights, man. So with the condensed season being introduced, we're going to go back to 4 games and 5 nights. So you might see more load management. You might see more players getting out again.
I think it's going to probably be intensified. However, I'll be honest with you. I think if you're going to do it, this is the time to do it. And I'll tell you why. because you won't have nearly as many fans complaining for a couple reasons. One of them being they ain't got to worry about pulling no money out of their pocket and being disappointed when they go to these games and see their favorite player not playing. You know why? Because they're not going to have access to be able to go to these games this season to be disappointed in that way. And I know that this is going to sound bad. I know that it's going to sound harsh. But in regards to this year, just them watching it on television and still seeing players take advantage of load management, which I don't always feel like it's still something that should happen. Honestly, I think it should teach us something as fans about the competitive nature or lack thereof of some of these players. Because you have some instances where some players, I guess, really are hurt. I can't think of who it is from the Utah Jazz that is out for the season. Jump shooter. I can't think of his name right off, but he's out for the season.
Okay.
LaMarcus Aldridge just coming out earlier this week. He's down. He's done for the remainder of the season. So it's gonna affect, but people should be happy that we got some brand of basketball being played, period, at this point.
Amen.
Now that doesn't mean that, you know, players should still take advantage, but I feel like if they don't, they hurt themselves. Like some players is coming back off injury, and I'm excited to see. Hopefully, they're not going to be making no excuses. One of them being Victor Oladipo and the Indiana Pacers, who I think can make a deep run in the Eastern Conference. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw, again, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if I saw the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals and or maybe the NBA Finals. I know that Toronto, Boston, a couple other teams are out there to contend for it outside of Milwaukee, but I think that Indiana is one of those dark horses in the East that when you start looking at the pieces that they have, we talked about them in our mock draft just the other day. They're one of those teams that can be taking advantage of this whole COVID situation. So, long story longer, I mean, I want the people to appreciate basketball being back. And I think if players are healthy, that they do need to play, but they do need to channel their inner competitive nature. I think we're going to learn a lot about these organizations individually, these players individually, if they're taking advantage of the load management and not playing. Because load management for what? You haven't been working out to a point where you know, gone out there and been practicing or gotten hurt in practice. Everybody's been sitting around just like everybody else. So they should be ready to hit the court, but not only hit it, but hit it harder than before. We've seen the MJ documentary. Who has that motivated? Who has that inspired? We've seen the COVID-19, the kind of effect that it's had. The COVID-19 don't see color. COVID-19 don't see bank accounts, status, none of that. Who has that inspired? Who has that motivated? I'm interested to see who's going to, you know, take this thing serious and try and go out there and win a world championship when the playing field has become now a little bit more equal.
I mean, that's a great point. You hit so many great points, DT. And to answer you more directly, I think LeBron James has that motivation, man. I know I heard a couple like sports pundits say that LeBron is eager to get back and win the championship ring, so his name can be like re-enter in the GOAT conversation. Because ever since The Last Dance came out, you know, people are exactly. That's my.
Did I do that? Maybe I was just thinking that. I didn't know you could see that.
But and that's a great point too about Victor Oladipo, man. And it's so funny because I think I tweeted out, and I think you liked my tweet. I was like, man, you know, I hope Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can come back, you know, for like this resumption and so forth, man. But they kind of killed that notion. I think KD recently came out and said, yeah, I'm not going to play this season, or Kyrie Irving. I'm like, bro, it's been like by the time the NBA resumes, it would have been like a year and a half. Like most doctors or medical experts say that Achilles return, it only takes like 9 to 12 months, bro. So it would have been 14 months at that point. And that's a great point. I didn't know about I did a little research, man. It's Bojan Bogdanovic for the Utah Jazz. So I didn't know he was hurt, bro. So good stuff.
Yeah. And I know there's two of them. I think there's the other one play for Washington. I don't even think
Yeah,
they're related, but I
yeah,
think somewhere right up in that range. One play for Utah, one play for Washington, one that played for Utah. Um, that's a big key loss, and I think that it's
hmm
interesting to see what we're gonna find out about a lot of these teams and so forth. Because look at everything that's on the line, like
hmm
the Toronto Raptors gave the blueprint for what
hmm
it takes to beat Milwaukee
hmm
in a 7-game series with the MVP.
hmm
Here he is returning to likely be or is the lead candidate
hmm
for the MVP again. If
hmm
they don't get there, what does that say? I know that they don't have Malcolm Brogdon anymore, whatnot, which I think was a key asset and piece to that team.
Facts,
But
facts.
Toronto, who I know you love and that I don't necessarily love, not
hmm
only do they not have Kawhi Leonard anymore, but they turned around and wouldn't say look stronger, but it didn't look like it was nearly as big of a loss that they
hmm
took, considering what Kawhi Leonard meant to that team on both ends of the floor.
hmm
And of course, like I said, you got Indiana. Uh, Buddy from Boston has been coming along real strong. Jason Tatum has been looking really good,
hmm
from an Eastern Conference standpoint. So I don't think that it's a shoot in or that it's a given. Before I get to the Western Conference, I want to ask you about that as far as the Eastern Conference. Like, do you think it's a shoe in or automatic right in with a Sharpie marker that the Milwaukee Bucks is going to advance through the weak Eastern Conference and advance to the NBA Finals? Why or why not?
No, I do not. No, I do not think that, Tate. Like you just said, Toronto had the blueprint of how to stop the Greek Freak in the playoffs, bro. Like all you have to do is form a wall in the paint, and that little dry half court Euro step, take 2 dribbles to the rack and dunk on you. That's not going to happen. He's not proved to me. He has not proven to me that he's a consistent jump shooter. He has not proven to me that he's a consistent 3-point maker, and that's what you need to do in the playoffs, man. And like you said, losing Malcolm Brogdon, that was very key for Milwaukee, man. Like even though he's only like 23, 24 in his third or fourth year in the league, he was wise beyond his years and very mature beyond his years. And the way he played, he had a high basketball IQ and he was a decent shooter. I think he was close to like coming to like a 50, 40, 90 season last year. 50% from the field, 40% from the 3-point line, and 90% from the free throw line. I'm trying to get the free throw line. And he made like key decisions. I'm not too comfortable how I feel with the decision making process of Eric Bledsoe. I see him get out there, bro, and he looked like a eighth grader with athleticism, bro, just going out just crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Turning overs, doing crazy things. So I'm not that certain about Milwaukee come out the East. Like you said, I'm not in love with Toronto. I just know how the NBA is, like when it comes to like storylines, like the history, bro. And I can definitely see that Toronto, even though they're not better, like on paper, with Kawhi not there, but you can tell the way they play more cohesively as a unit, though. They play with like a chip on their shoulder. Like they wanted to like prove that hey, we're not a 1-man team. That hey, the majority of our team that won the championship last year is still here. We're still a threat, and we're going to do our thing. And plus, they're motivated. So I really think, like I said before, I predicted like a Toronto versus Milwaukee finals before the whole COVID situation. And before I go ahead and pass it back to you, DT, you want to go ahead and read a couple of these comments, man? In the
Yeah, no doubt we could do that. I want to throw one more thing
okay.
at you before we get into briefly into the Western Conference. A
Mhm.
couple things I want to pinpoint, and then we'll get into the draft and Mikey Williams and comments and so forth.
Okay.
Before we get into the Western Conference, what is your disappointment level, or where your expectations different in regards to, Kevin Durant? I don't know where Kyrie Irving is going to stand on this, but with KD saying that like he's not going to play,
Mhm.
and in the event that he's healthy enough to play, I'm not saying he should necessarily, go and risk himself um,
Mhm.
in terms of his health status situation. But
Mhm.
like, what are your thoughts overall on him deciding not to play? How is that going to affect Brooklyn? And I guess I just really want to form the question around Kevin Durant because, like,
Okay.
if dude is healthy enough to play, he can get out there. I kind of feel like that's setting up for letting his teammates down. Like, I'm under the impression in a roundabout way, and I'm not trying to, uh, contest or question his competitive nature because I think
Mhm.
he's one of the best competitors in the game today in sports in general. But like KD, the much of the same way that Kyrie has been rubbing people the wrong way, and that's why you see him
Right.
on different teams. I'm starting to feel some similar ways about KD too. I don't think people are questioning his basketball talents and his abilities, his contributions, and so forth. But like, I'm getting the feeling I don't really know if we're going to ever see KD in a Brooklyn Nets uniform, bro.
Wow. Wow. Are you saying like imminently or just like period, like just in general? Like we'll never see him play for the Nets. Is that what you're saying? Due to injury or
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, telling us due to injury,
okay.
but maybe a combination of that or being swept under the rug. The fact that like he doesn't want to get on the floor, and I know that a lot of that sounds bad and whatever. I forget exactly what his contract situation is. I'm not sure how familiar you are with his contract, but like in no time, bro is probably going to end up being a free agent again or going to be able to maneuver himself around. I think. How long is that contract with him? Do you know that?
I think he signed like a 5 year
Okay.
or like a four. I think a 4 or 5. I think Kyrie and KD both signed a 4 year or 5 year contract.
Okay, well then it sounds like Tate don't know what he's talking about. But my
No,
thing
you
is, for me, on a personal level, I'm almost under the impression as if like dude don't want to play like that. You know what I'm
uh
saying? Like especially if Kyrie is kind of like holding back, and you're seeing a lot of other players like an asterisk on this season of what it is. Like
hmm
I think I'm good on this season. Like it seemed like some
Yeah.
guys is throwing
Yeah.
in the towel on this
Yeah.
season, and the next
Yeah.
thing you know, that lingers and spills over onto next season for guys not being ready or whatever. Like there's
hmm
a lot of guys that could have taken advantage of that this year. Steph Curry being one of them, but he didn't. I'm just
hmm
curious to know what you think about KD and his situation.
So number one, let's just trace. You made a lot of great points, man. Let's just trace the downfall of Kevin Durant's his attitude when he became kind of mercurial and moody. It all happened when he decided to, go join the Golden State Warriors as a free agent. In 2014, 2015, sorry, 2016,
Hmm.
and then it didn't help that Stephen A. Smith put him on blast and said that was the weakest move ever made by a superstar athlete. So ever since then, man, and then like with this whole social media atmosphere we in, with like the commenters and people would just go on your page and start snapping on you and start screaming on you and cussing you and everything like that. That's when I think we saw the transition point, pun intended, the turning point of Kevin Durant. 'Cause remember, he used to be like such a nice guy, such a like a role model in OKC. You never heard anything like in terms of like negative press coming out of Oklahoma in regards to Kevin Durant. He goes to Golden State. He's still the same player, the same person, but you can tell all that criticism, it rubbed him the wrong way, bro. Like he was on Twitter and Instagram with like the burner accounts. Like matter of fact, shout out to KD. I made myself a burner account, what I'm saying, in honor of KD. You know what I'm saying? I got 2 Twitter or Instagram accounts, bro, all in honor of KD, man. So we see how sensitive he is, man. It's a good and a bad thing. That kind of humanizes KD. He doesn't look at himself as too above everybody else. He'll get down and dirty with you and respond to you and write you back and cuss you out or say whatever, man. So I definitely believe that the love is there. The love of basketball is there for Kevin Durant. But I think that that's when we saw the transition, the turning point in regards to like the good Kevin Durant to like the moody Kevin Durant. Now, in regards to like playing basketball, getting back on the floor, I feel like last year, the last time we saw him play against the Toronto Raptors, what Game 5 of the 2019 Finals, I feel like he was pressured into doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole media pressured him to get back, maybe his teammates pressured him to get back, and maybe the fans pressured him. So I feel like he did something that he really didn't want to do, but he just felt coerced to do. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, he got hurt the first game he came back and played in. He ruptured his ACL. I'm saying his Achilles, man. So I feel like now he's taking a more vigilant, a more calculated approach. So you know what? I don't care what nobody say. Ain't nobody rushing me in my own comfort. It's my Achilles. It's my life. You know what I'm saying? Let me come back when I feel comfortable.
I respect that.
If the last time I was rushed and to doing something I didn't want to do, you know what I'm saying? My Achilles was ruptured. In regards to like this year, why should he come back? Because like I said earlier, bro, medical experts say it only takes 9 months to a year to come back from a ruptured Achilles. You know what I'm saying? So you would think he's good now, but you got to take into consideration, like, you know what? He really never had like a training camp with his teammates. He doesn't really know them. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know the offense. He hasn't played a preseason game. He hasn't played any kind of game. So you kind of like throw him in a fray for like 7 or 8 games in a weird, you know what I'm saying, unprecedented situation and climate as we have right now with the whole COVID going into to the bubble complex in Disney. I kind of understand what Kevin Durant said. You know what? Scratch this season, wait till next season. You know what I'm saying? Call it a wash. Let's start fresh. So I understand where he's coming from and why he's not playing this season. It makes sense to me. I will, but I respect it.
I respect that too. And I'm glad that you mentioned some of those things because some of that I hadn't even really thought of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really, I can't say for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure if the GOAT wouldn't have been out there and played. But I also understand that this ain't the GOAT's era. And you can't really compare the two. But sometimes from a competitive nature, from a competitive standpoint, I do compare a lot of times, and I do think about that. Let's go to a couple of the comments. This one I actually found pretty funny myself. An extremely close friend to my family, friend to me personally. Our families grew up together. Pretty much a family member, all except for the blood relation. Mayana McClendon, appreciate her for checking in the show. Hello, Tater Tot. There's a long story. There's just, I don't even really want to go into the whole Tater Tot thing, man. That's
only the close people call you Tater Tot, right? Only the close people call you Tater Tot.
Bro, that thing go all the way back to elementary school, bro.
Wow.
So you can only imagine having the last name Tate.
Right.
As to, you know what I mean, where all that stuff comes from, the obvious. Here goes another one, and this one might end up being a question that's better suited for you because I think that you are a little bit closer to the situation than I am particularly, but my dude Kevin Estes checking in with us as well, asking if does COVID-19 void the current CBA? That's something a little bit more down your alley because you're a little bit familiar. What are your thoughts on that specifically, if you know anything at all?
So vaguely, and thanks for checking in, Kevin, and asking that question. That's a great point, great question. I do know that they have some clauses in some CBAs called like the natural disaster clause, where like something like catastrophic happens, then like the owners and the teams, they do have the options to void contracts and so forth. So right now, you got to go through the minutia and the whole semantics of do you classify a pandemic or the COVID-19, you know what I'm saying, under as a natural disaster, man. So I would say you could, man, but right now that's like a gray area. But I know in the future CBAs, they will write in something like, they will be specific, like, okay, natural disasters and pandemics and like viruses like this, they will definitely write it in. But right now, it's like a gray area situation. They have like a natural disaster, you know what I'm saying, clause, but it's not like specific to like, a virus or disease such as COVID-19.
Look at my dude, Iron Mike, the knowledgeable one. Ginger Mathis, appreciate Ginger for checking in.
Ginger.
Ginger. Sitting out gives other guys a chance to develop, and they might find a diamond in the rough or a great role player out of the situation, which I agree with too. I think that that's something else that is obviously very likely. I'm just always curious, like I said, not trying to, be on KD about it or this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. But I'm just always kind of curious to know, like, when guys are sitting out of games, whether they're taking advantage of the
opportunity
the opportunity to sit out, how hurt guys really are a lot of times, even in the 80s and 90s, because that ain't this new modern day era thing only. You know what I mean? In the 80s and 90s, guys were doing the same thing, but there wasn't a name for it, and it wasn't nearly as, I'm not gonna say it didn't happen as often, but it just seemed like it didn't happen nearly as often. So that's just
that's a fact, man. Like, guys do take advantage of the opportunity. Like the greatest example I feel we have of that is in like 1999, the strike shortened season with the Lakers. I think Rick Fox, he was hurt, he was injured, man. And Kobe Bryant to that point was coming off the bench, man. Kobe was subsequently inserted in the starting lineup. The rest is history. You know what I'm saying? So you got to definitely maximize your opportunity, and specifically with Brooklyn. I think this is a great opportunity for Caris LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie to step up. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie's not going to play. So Spencer Dinwiddie's going to like carry the team, be the point guard. I think he's averaging like 21 points a game up until this point anyway, doing a marvelous job and taking up for Kyrie Irving. And then Karis LeVert, I think the last time we saw him, he dropped a 50 burger on the Boston Celtics on national TV. So he's more than capable. Go Blue, University of Michigan. He's more than capable. You know what I'm saying? Of putting that putting that scoring load on his team, man. And you know what? It's so funny. That's a great point from Ginger too. I heard a couple like whispers that the NBA was considering calling up like guys in the G League. You know what I'm saying, for like guys like Kyrie and KD in case they're hurt or guys get hurt or they might test for COVID. You know what I'm saying, and then teams are kind of like dismantled. You need other like players to draw from. So they were talking about getting players from the G League. Now that's the G League, bro. And before we get into like the 2020 mock draft, bro, you gotta like go to college. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, before you get selected. Now over the weekend, Tate, a very well respected and highly touted blue chip athlete, McDonald's All-American. There he is, Mikey Williams. Oh man, I love the story. He came out in the news when he made this statement right here. I'm going to read it right now. He said, "A lot of athletes are so starstruck by big name school and coaches that they forget they control their own narrative. If there's anybody that is getting paid for me being at their school, I want it to be my own people." So that's a response to Mikey Williams said, you know what? Why not go to HBCU? And my eyes just blew up. In case you don't know, or the viewers don't know, I am an HBCU graduate. I went to a little small school in Atlanta, Georgia called Morehouse College. You know, a couple well-known alumni like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Spike, J.D. Washington, Denzel's son, just Michael Eric Dice, #2, just a couple small famous alumni, man. But anyway, though, man, I really got hyped up like, wow, will he really come to Morehouse College? Will he really go to a Hampton University or a Howard College in Washington, D.C.? I really got hyped, you know what I'm saying? And these kids, as evidenced with the whole protesting and so forth, they're not afraid to go out and take action and do something and make a statement and be leaders. So my question to you, man, like I know there are obvious, you know what I'm saying, reasons why he wouldn't do it. Like, you know, boosters, you know, like big schools have bigger boosters that give you a bigger bag and pay you out more money. You know, you have more TV exposure to the NBA. Scouts come to your games. Like, there's a million one reasons to not go to the HBCU. But do you, DT, I'm going to ask you, the college guru, the college basketball expert, and all of the great land, the great nation of America, man, do you think that Mikey Williams is like talking out the side of his neck? Or do you think he's seriously considering going to HBCU? And if he does, do you think this will be a trend at this point going forward?
I don't see this happening
as
much as I want to see this happen, and how great I think that it would be for it to happen. You know, this almost happened already. There was a player who goes by the name of Josh Christopher, who I was really, really confident was going to end up going to the University of Michigan, who is on his way to college this year to play college basketball. That's from the California area, Mayfair. And he switched out between having, I think, Arizona State, Michigan, maybe UCLA, Missouri, and he had Kentucky in there. Mm-hmm. But then he switched out Kentucky and replaced him with Hampton after taking an official visit. Mm. And after talking to his dad, regardless of how realistic that commitment might be, I thought it was just really, really dope that he even put them on his top 5 list. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. In true Deshaun Tate form and fashion, I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is publicity, and this ain't going to happen. And it didn't. And I didn't expect that it would. But that still doesn't take away from how awesome it is that he took a blue blood program, pun intended, off of his list and replaced it with the HBCU. And I just thought that was like super dope because it gave some attention. And now we're talking about Mikey Williams, who this might be a real thing for him. There's so many different other avenues and other things you have to consider. A lot of these blue blood programs, as he's the number one freshman in the country or working to be a rising sophomore in high school. When you start thinking about Kansas, Carolina, Duke, UCLA, Kentucky, all these other programs, you better believe he's going to have a boatload of money being thrown his way. I've watched this kid. I haven't watched him in person yet, but I've seen more than his highlights. I've seen full games on my phone to see what he can do. The kid is a real ball player. Athletic ability, stupid, through the roof. But it's going to be so much money and different opportunities thrown his way. So it's not even just about collegiate, but even more so what the G League is offering right now. Some of these players, $500,000 coming straight out of high school. Who know what it's going to be in the next 2 to 3 years when it's time for him to make a decision? And that's G League. What if the NBA lifts the age limit rule?
And it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Right. As they're expected to do over the course of the next year to 2 years when Imani Bates comes out. You know, that might be a real thing. And then we're not even having a conversation about college. But just the thought that of what he's talking about at such a young age, you got to remember, yes, he's in high school, but he's like 14 or 15. Like he's not even old enough to have a driver's license yet.
Hey, DJ, quick question. Yeah. I mean, cut you off. Is this the same Mikey Williams that made headlines when he played like AAU ball with like LeBron's son, like Bronny James Jr. back in the day, and all the dunks? Okay, just making sure. Thank you, man.
That's him. Same dude. Okay. But saying that, like, I just think that would be awesome if it happened. Just think about this, bro. And I know this is hypothetically speaking, but let's put ourselves in this mode. How dope would it be to see Mikey Williams and 4 other players that are nationally ranked form a Fab Five remake? Go to a HBCU. They selling out every night. They're playing in like a high school sized gymnasium. You talking about big man on campus? You talking about having groupies?
we getting real with it now, boy.
You know what? Listen, you know what goes along with this. I ain't telling you or the listeners or viewers nothing new. And if I am, they just learned themselves. Game for free. Game for free. But that's just what it is. How dope would that be? I think that would be ridiculously awesome, man, to do something like that on a mid-major level, let alone a low-major level at a HBCU, downtown Atlanta, Clark University or something like that.
Morehouse
University, Morehouse College, rather. Any of that, man. I just think that it'll be a big move, especially with everything that's going on right now. I just think that for a kid to be thinking like that at the age he is, man, that's so super dope.
Bro, you made so many great points. I can't like really respond because we got to get to our transitional point, mock draft, man. But the 3 things I just took from that was like the G League point. I didn't consider that. That was an excellent point because the G League is giving out money for that top 5 kind of like prospect. I love the idea like a Fab 5 like top class going to like an HBCU. That would be so revolutionary, man. Like so unprecedented, man. But I think it'll have a great impact on like subsequent, like basketball classes and generations, man. But lastly, though, I didn't think about this, though, man. And you're probably right because it's all big business. Maybe that these guys were naming these HBCUs to really get leverage on these big blood programs, though. Like, yeah, I'm going to Morehouse. Now, all of a sudden, that Kentucky bag got a little bit bigger. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and move on to that 2020 transition points. They can't win until we quit. Win at all costs mock draft. Whoa! Did I get it right, D-Tate? Did I get it right?
I got it right. I ain't gonna hold you. You must have been practicing all that time I spent in Florida. Cuz was over there in the lab practicing.
Florida Tate. So where we at right now, D-Tate? We have numbers like 15 through 11 today.
15 to 11.
We're in the lottery right now.
It's lotto time. Get your numbers together. The ping pong.
Hey, so before we do that thing, remind everybody the ping pong. Remind everybody who did last show last Friday. Who was numbers 20 to 16?
20 to 16. 20 Indiana Pacers select Isaiah Stewart out of Washington, a freshman. 19 the Philadelphia 76ers. Take Trey Jones from Duke, a sophomore. 18 Dallas Mavericks take Jaden McDaniels, a freshman from Washington.
Mhm.
17, the Memphis Grizzlies select Vernon Carey Jr. From Duke, a freshman as well. And number 16, I always keep wanting to say New Jersey Nets, bro.
Right.
Brooklyn Nets select Tyrese Maxey, a freshman from Kentucky.
Nice, man. And that's a good faux pas, a good Freudian slip, man. I mean, the Nets' most success they ever had in their history, it happened in New Jersey, man. And one quick question, man. I got like a colleague, bro, who's a big Nets fan, and I think recently, like on this little Instagram post, they said like was like one of the best teams that never won the championship. I'm not sure if he was being biased, but he named that Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, and what was it? Not Richard Jefferson. Was it RJ? No. Who? Yeah, Richard Jefferson.
Richard
That
Jefferson.
team that went to the final. I'm thinking about Vince Carter. And he named that like 2002, 2003 team that went to the finals. Is that one of the best teams that never won a championship to you, or is he just being like biased?
Maybe, I mean, one of the best in terms of what? In terms of top five to never win, in
Yeah.
terms of top 20, 25 to never win. It's definitely
Mm.
one of them. But
Okay.
at that point, that was just the feel of much like we have now leading up to when the Toronto Raptors won this past year, that you can shoe in there whoever you want, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to beat whoever the best team was in the West. That's what the feel was at that time. So as much as we like to say that, the reality is that they just ended up being the team that was representing the East, not
Mm-hmm.
so much of a dynamic and a good team. At that
Mm-hmm.
time, who they lose to? The Lakers and the Spurs?
Mm-hmm. Well,
They,
nobody beating them.
bro, you could take the best starting five and best bench players, all Eastern Conference players, and put them up against the Spurs and or the Lakers, especially the Lakers, and they wasn't gonna win. And I say that half facetiously and half serious.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's just kind of the way I see it. Not to say it wasn't a good team, because you can't be a good team and get to the NBA Finals, but realistically, I think that it was partial bias, if not nothing else.
Hey man, well said, bro. Now another team that made a NBA Finals but never got a chance to win was Orlando Magic, and that's what we have picking with the 15th pick selection, man. And who do you have the Magic selecting in the 2020 draft, D
Like,
Tate?
I love the transition. Devin Vassell, who I'm familiar
Ooh.
with, high school right here out of Georgia. Florida State, a sophomore, 6'7", 195. Let me tell you something about this dude. He is the prototypical, which in some cases a good and bad thing, but Florida State put out some pretty freaking good players. Malik Beasley being one of them that kind of has overachieved coming into the league, who not a lot of people knew about. Dwayne Bacon was another one. I think he spent some time up in Charlotte. But when you start looking at guys in their size, like a small forward slash shooting guard, natural shooting guard that can play some small forward, I'm not overly impressed by Devin Vassell by any means. I'll be quite honest with you. And he's not the only person that I'm going to mention on my particular list today that I
Okay.
haven't been blown away with. I think a lot of this is really going to come down to the fact of what it is. And that is the fact that a lot of the guys are going to be drafted based on potential, not
Mm.
necessarily their talent or what they can or what they've done on the floor. But Florida State won the conference championship this year in terms of the regular season for the ACC this year over some of the best teams. Your Carolina, who stunk this year. Duke was pretty good. You also had Louisville, who was decent but didn't live up to the expectations. Florida State did what they did this year, came from completely out of nowhere. Jonathan Isaac was another player that they had. They always have these long, athletic players who are very springy and are not bad defenders either. They always going to typically play hard and exceed expectations. And that's something that Florida State did this year, and they wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't have Devin Vassell on their roster. So I take the Orlando Magic, who are in a position. One thing about Orlando, they've got to get to a point where they're trying to stop moving pieces around and trying new things all the time. We've seen Aaron Gordon play everything probably from shooting guard to center at one point. And with Jonathan Isaac, who I mentioned, Vucevic is there, Mo Bamba, which we still don't know what he is yet. He still can't afford to be walking past the buffet line. It seems as if they can use some more bulk up front. But before you get to that point, where are they at the guard position? Markel Fultz, that's still, in the works. seeing what he's going to be. Now, a guy who I personally love that I think can be a potential starting point guard in this league, I think so. And maybe I'm just holding it down for the hashtag LSU Light Skin United with DJ Augustine. He is arguably probably the best backup point guard in the NBA. Again, arguably. Michael Carter Williams, that's not working out very well. Evan Fournier, his contract time is going to be up pretty soon. Terrence Ross is good, but the small forward position is kind of weak. That's where I think somebody like Devin Vassell, who is a shooting guard, we got somebody who's 6'7", who's thin, but this is a thin NBA. This ain't the big man NBA that we're used to seeing. He can maybe move into that small forward position on occasion situationally, and I think that he can help contribute to that roster spot at that point.
Man, I agree with a lot of your points, especially the Augustine being one of the best backup point guards in the league. So it looks like Orlando's going to keep it local and select Vassell out of Florida State, which makes sense. You know, if anybody should have a close eye on him, it should be the home team. And we got to ask you, DK, before we go to the Wizards, who would you compare Devin Vassell's game to? You said Malik Beasley, or like whose game would you compare him to?
He's a combination. It's so much, bro, just like Syracuse, where they recruit players that are so much alike to fit those systems.
Okay.
And it's so similar with the long, lanky, athletic. He is essentially much like a Malik Beasley or a Dwayne Bacon, where the build and the makeup of them and even their playing style is very similar to the same. They recruit a lot of the same type of dudes, and you can kind of see it when you watch him play.
That's what's up, man. All right, moving right along, we have the Washington Wizards selecting 14th. And who do you have with the 14th pick, man?
Pull it up on the screen, bro.
Wow. I've never heard of this guy.
And you know what? A lot of people haven't. And while I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a ton about this dude, because I don't follow international basketball nearly as much as I do in the States, and the bit that I do follow, a lot of it, you don't get a chance to see a whole lot of games, but you do get to see a lot of highlights, which if you put a highlight tape of Deshaun Tate and Mike Dyson together, you probably going to be seeing two dudes that look like they can get picked in the lottery too. Highlight tapes is never going to show where a guy is on a fast break and he accidentally dribbles the ball off his foot and it goes out of bounds. You don't see those types of situations. Everything that I've seen and read up about on Denny Avdija, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Nice.
I apologize if I butchered the name. I'm pretty good at spelling, bro. I won the spelling bee 3 times in a row. Pronunciation goes along with that. But this is a dude that is 6'9", very thin, 210 pounds. Again, we was talking about Devin Vassell being thin. This is another dude that's thin. He can shoot the ball, but I don't think I see anything in him that I don't see out of a typical international player that's not named Luka Doncic, and where they play in that international brand. You're putting up a lot of shots on a regular basis. You're long and somewhat athletic, but I don't know if that's what they're going to translate too much over here to the NBA game. But the NBA, the reason why I believe that it can translate, his game can translate, even though he's kind of young, is because of the simple fact that if you look at it, the NBA game is basically structured around international play right now, the way that it's been, where you see a 7-footer stretching out, taking threes. You're seeing more 3-point shots being taken in today's NBA than you probably ever have in the history of the game since they, introduced the 3-point line. So, in terms of the Washington Wizards, I mean, they got a lot to figure out too. What's going to happen in terms of bringing back, Bradley Beal? I don't think anybody really wants to take that John Wall contract. Crazy thing is that with these next few picks, including theirs, you got a lot of help that you need at the power forward or small forward position, especially in the front court, the bigs. Thomas Bryant has done really well coming out of Indiana and exceeded a lot of expectations because he's a Draymond Green type workhorse. You got Mo Wagner, one of your boys, I guess what y'all call it, go blue.
You know what the color is. You know what it is.
But while he's a good player, they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. All this Bertans and Isaac Bonga, Troy Brown, that's cool. Jerome Robinson coming out of BC, he ain't really done all that much yet, so they need some help at the small forward position. That's where I think somebody like Denny can come in and just kind of add to that. I mean, they're in a position where they're not trying to win right away. And if they are trying to win right away, they're not doing a very good job at it, besides making sure that they got their backcourt intact between Beal and Wall, who needs to hurry up and come up off the IR. You got to put somebody in that place. I'm not sure that Denny is the most perfect fit, but he is someone that you can place in that position that has size, because size is ultimately what they need to try and help fix the problem in the capital.
Bro, that's great intel. I'm sure everybody that's watching this right now have never heard of Denny Avdija until just now, bro. So you just broke it down for them, man. And Cuz sound like a Washington Wizards beat reporter, bro. You know everything the Wizards need, you know the contracts and everything. Like, look at Cuz, man. I see you, boy.
I be up late for a reason, bro. I don't stay up watching porn all night, bro.
Well, speak for yourself, man. So we're gonna go to the next pick for the Sacramento Kings, man. We got them selecting Patrick Williams. Okay, FSU, 2 picks in the top 15. Tell me about this guy right here, bro.
Yeah, Patrick Williams is another one of those dudes. Like I say, they recruit a lot of the same players. So where you do see the long, athletic players in the backcourt with the shooting guards, you see much of the same thing in the front court. Length, athleticism. Now, a lot of times these guys is kind of raw, and that's what I think that we're kind of looking at when we're looking at Patrick Williams, if I'm just being honest with you. He's a stash guy. I don't think he's going to be necessarily somebody that's going to come in and play right away. He's a project, but he could end up being on this particular draft that project that ends up being better than the rest of the projects that was taken. It's going to be a ton of them. I'm warning you. There's going to be a ton of them in this particular draft. But where I think it helps a guy like him is he can play anywhere between small forward and power forward, because he plays so above his size and your expectations. Sean Holmes is only going to get it done so much. What's your boy name? Bielika? If I'm
I was gonna say, yeah, Bielisa, man. Like, they got Bielisa, they got Giles, they got Bagley. That front court is kind of like jam-packed in Sacramento right now.
Marvin Bagley and Harry Giles got 2 things in common. Both of these dudes have been on the IR for what seems like forever, and they haven't even been in the league that long. And I was the dude that have gone out and said that I believe Marvin Bagley has the potential and likely to be a 10-time NBA All-Star in this league.
Oh, wow.
That's going to happen, and he's going to have to find a way to get that red cross from next to his name, because he's going to have to get over it. It's not good anytime you got a 7-footer that's young and having foot problems. So from that standpoint, you got to go with somebody in the front court. This may not necessarily be the most ideal. Yes, you have Jabari Parker, but he stays on the IR. He went to Duke as well, ironically enough. Alex Len, they acquired him from the Atlanta Hawks as well, but he hasn't lived up to his top 5 pick billing over the course of the last, handful of years or so ago. And Harrison Barnes, you can't put in there in the front court. He's too small. So from that standpoint, you got to go with somebody. Patrick Williams is a risk taker. They're not a team, I don't think, either that's in an urgent position to where they have to win right now. Okay. Unfortunately, around this time of the draft, when you having some of these picks, a lot of these guys are going to be picking based off of not so much draft needs, but best player available. Sometimes best player available is going to be the best project available. Into Sacramento at 13 is where I think you'll find Patrick Williams from FSU.
Well said. All right, man. Staying on in the Western Conference, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves picking 12th, and you have them taking Kyra Lewis from Alabama. You know what? I'm gonna tell you where a lot of his hype came from. A lot of his hype came from, or not came from, but reminds me of much of what we saw with Dennis Smith Jr. When he was coming out of high school, he had the injury. We were talking about him coming back from that, but that he was one of them players that would be durable and you wouldn't have those issues. Now, while Kyra Lewis isn't necessarily have the injury issues that did that Dennis Smith Jr. That he had DSJ, he has that same type of elite talent level to him. And so there's a lot of hype surrounding him. This dude is a scorer. This dude can score the basketball. Alabama wasn't all that good this year, but anything positive that Alabama did this year, it was because of Kyra Lewis. You can mark that down. That's a fact, Jack. Take that to the bank. Whatever you feel. So, Kyra Lewis, like I said,
Is he going to be an all-star someday? He's probably not going to be that player. But he can mold himself into potentially being like a third, or maybe not a third, that might be a stretch, potentially third at best case scenario, maybe a fourth all NBA team type of dude. And it's going to be some people that his game is going to take them by surprise. He was thinking about actually coming out last year to the draft, ended up staying an extra year. There was no way I thought he was going to stay long enough to be considered a junior. But the dude can definitely score the basketball, and he's not a terrible defender either. I think you need a little bit of a push in those regards in that particular area, but I think that is doable.
Oh man, so it sounds like he can get buckets. And the last person that played for Alabama that got buckets was what, the Bull, Colin Sexton. Now, do they have similar games, or like who would you compare Kyra Lewis? And forgive me for the mispronunciation. Kyra, who do you compare his game to in the league?
I don't know. I'm not. I keep saying that there's not really. He doesn't. He has. It's not really a game or a style of his own particularly that he has, but he does have a little bit of a feel in terms of the way he scores the ball. I'm not saying he can do it at this level, but the way he scores the ball is kind of like a Lou Williams. Coming off the bench, giving some numbers, and being okay with the role that you're playing. He reminds me of that a little bit, and to be honest with you, I think that that's perfect for his demeanor, and he can give you more. Like my expectations of him coming off the bench in a position like a Lou Will is much like Lou Will, because he can come off and fill in the start and role after he gets acclimated to the game more and help contribute to W's than he will contribute to losses.
Nice. Now, for the final pick we have today in today's show, number 11, I'm very interested, man, because I know the Spurs.
Because the way they draft.
Yeah, exactly, man. The way they draft, and they got some boys in there now, man. Like I'm interested. So where does DeJounte Murray go now? Now you have what? Nico Mannion,
Arizona. Now this is a dude specifically that a lot of people had higher on their draft boards. You might see this dude as high as like early lottery, where he was expected. I think I saw some stuff entering around this time last year, college basketball season. Or over the summer, people was talking about this dude maybe even being like a top 3, top 5 pick. And while he has dropped down, some people have him dropped down all the way to maybe even second round or late first round. But I think he fits in well because of the situation here with DeJounte Murray, where it seems like just as soon as DeJounte was starting to get his feet and his legs up under him a little bit, he ended up injured and never really seemed like he was returning to be similarly to the same type of player. So Nico Mannion is a guy that can score the basketball. In some cases, I'm be honest with you, this ain't no can't think of the exact word. It's not a prejudice, but I can't really think of exactly
a bias.
Not necessarily bias. I can't think of the stereotype.
Okay.
Not necessarily stereotype, but sometimes, and this is one of the reasons why I question him being as good as people say he is because sometimes guys see players and believe that they're better than they are.
Yes.
Because they're Caucasian. And perfect example, Mac McClung, who's now over at Texas Tech. Stupid hops, crazy athletic. But one of the reasons why people love him so much is because the fact that he's white and he plays like a black dude. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And Nico Mannion has a lot of that to his game. He has some international parts to his game as well. I forget exactly where he's from. I don't know if he's Irish or what, but he has some international parts to his game. And while he's not crazy freakishly athletic, there have been some comparisons made to Steve Nash amongst other guys. And he is a playmaker as well, but he can score the ball. Arizona wasn't all that great this year either, after they got off to a pretty good start and then kind of fell behind a little bit and then started doing a little bit better. They were very inconsistent before they ended up falling behind again in the Pac-12, which wasn't outstanding this year either. But I will say that this is a dude that, to me, while he can be a liability on defense, he's going to surprise some people with what he can do on the offensive end, including his ability to pass the ball and get other guys involved. We had a conversation about a guy that was taken earlier in our 2020 transition points. 2020 transition points. They cannot win until we quit. Win at all costs. NBA mock draft. Number
There you
20,
go.
Utah Jazz. Zeke Naji, who also played for Arizona this year, ended up getting crazy buckets and cleaned it up a lot around the glass. And some of the stuff that he was getting was based off of the delivery from Nico Mannion and his playmaking abilities. So that just goes to show if he can get young guys involved, I believe that he has what it takes from a playmaking standpoint and maybe even a little bit of scoring potentially, depending on where he goes. Obviously, it's a perfect fit for the San Antonio Spurs, who are very peculiar in the way that they draft. It just seems like a perfect fit because he's a player that can't just go anywhere and fit in automatically. He got to go somewhere like San Antonio. He goes there and he has potential of flourishing.
That's a good point, man. Definitely teams like and organizations like San Antonio, they definitely seek out and draft a certain type of ilk of a player that fit their culture. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have like a certain characteristic or just a way about you to fit their system, man. But hey, that was well said. We're gonna stop it right there at number 11. Next show, Friday show, we're gonna pick up at number 10. We're gonna have the Golden State Warriors pick at number 10. The Cleveland Cavaliers pick at number 9. The Charlotte Hornets picking at 8th. The hometown Detroit Pistons with the 7th pick. And then the Portland Trail Blazers pick at number 6. Now, DT, our hashtags, man, is prepared to be educated and game for free. And that was a stellar job today, man. I mean, I feel so much more educated and smarter right now because of what you just this game you gave us for free, bro. Like all these dudes you just spoke of, I've never heard of, bro. Now, when they get selected, they get drafted, like Tate taught us. Tate taught me. I heard his name first because of D Tate. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely looking forward to picks 10 through 6 in the 2020 transition points. They can't win until we quit. Win at all costs mock draft. You dig what I'm saying?
I gotta see you do it with the eyes closed.
I ain't Michael Jordan shooting free throws, bro.
Like MJ at the line.
So we're going to stop it right there. We want to thank everybody for viewing, transition points with Tate and Dice, man. D-Tate, I'm going to let you in with the last words. Any last thoughts, bro?
Not many, man. I will say I just appreciate whoever been praying for us. We got a lot of views today, a lot of people that chimed in. Keep them coming, man. Share this with any and everybody. Basketball is coming up, so feel free to just lock in and tell people about what we got going on. Transition Points with Tate Dice. Find us on YouTube as well, Facebook, the whole nine. Share it out to your friends. Hashtag prepare to be educated. Hashtag game for free. It's Tate. It's Dice. You need your basketball fix. No better place to find it than on Tuesdays and Fridays from 6 p to 7 p, of course, Eastern Standard Time.
That's a fact. And with that said, we out of here. See you Friday.